Neutron star theory explains what happens to a huge star when it dies. After exploding in a supernova, the core of the star collapses under its own gravity, becoming extremely dense. This leftover core is called a neutron star. These stars are incredibly heavy and small, but their gravity is super strong, making time pass slower near them. So, if you were able to go near one and survive its intense gravity, you'd find that time moves slower for you compared to people far away. This means you could technically travel to the future. However, going back to the past isn't possible with this theory. We already experience a little bit of this time difference here on Earth, but it's much smaller compared to what happens near a neutron star. Dynamic timeline theory. This is the basis of most time travel movies, because to put it simply, this is the one that you have the power to control, and meddling with it could cause problems. If you go back in time, you can prevent something that has happened, but in doing so, you could cause the future to change, so much so that you might even prevent your own birth. The most popular version of this is in Back to the Future, where Marty goes back in time and almost erases his own existence. This causes a paradox as he starts to vanish from reality itself. The black hole theory suggests there are really dense objects in space called black holes. They're like giant vacuums sucking in everything nearby, even light. One type of black hole, called Kerr black hole, was figured out by a scientist named Roy Kerr. This type spins around and has a couple of special areas called event horizons. Inside these areas, time and space go all weird, like they're swapped around. If you get close to the center of a Kerr black hole, you might end up traveling back in time or entering some strange space. It's pretty mind-bending stuff. Mind transfer theory states that instead of physically transporting one's body through time, one's consciousness or mind is transferred to a different point in time. This concept suggests that a person's mental identity or awareness can be relocated to a past or future moment, allowing them to experience events from that temporal perspective while leaving their physical body unaffected by time travel. Time travelers' immunity theory states that time travelers would be immune to the effects of changes in history caused by their actions, thereby preserving their original timeline and preventing paradoxes. Light speed theory is a concept that explores how traveling at speeds close to that of light can affect time. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, when objects move very fast, time for them slows down compared to stationary objects. This means that if something were to travel at almost the speed of light, time would pass more slowly for it. This could potentially allow for time travel to the future, but not to the past. The light speed theory encompasses various ideas related to this concept and its implications for travel and understanding the universe. The Tachyon theory states that a special kind of particle called a tachyon. These particles are imagined to move faster than light, which is really fast. Many scientists don't think these super fast particles can exist because they don't fit with what we already know about how things work in the universe. People have tried to find these particles in experiments, but they haven't been successful yet. If they were real and could interact with regular stuff like us, they might let us send messages to the past. It's like throwing a ball against a special mirror and having it come back to you before you even throw it. But thinking about time travel this way brings up a lot of tricky problems, like things that don't make sense, paradoxes. A wormhole is like a secret tunnel in space or time that connects faraway places. It's a shortcut, allowing you to travel quickly between 2 points without having to go the long way around. Scientists think about these tunnels using math equations from Einstein's theory of gravity. They're pretty cool in science fiction stories, but in real life, we haven't found any yet. To keep a wormhole open, we'd need some really strange stuff called exotic matter, which can push away gravity. Exotic matter theory is a concept in physics that suggests the existence of unusual types of matter that behave differently from what we usually observe. One way this theory is explored is through the idea of using exotic matter to make wormholes stable enough for time travel. Another idea involves using exotic matter to create something called the Alcubierre warp drive, which could enable spacecraft to travel faster than light by distorting space-time around them. This distortion would allow for the possibility of traveling back in time. Unlike theoretical particles called tachyons, which could only send information back in time, the Alcubierre warp drive theoretically allows for physical time travel of objects, including people, by creating a sort of bubble around the spacecraft using exotic matter. Cosmic string theory is a concept in space science that involves super heavy cracks in space called cosmic strings. These cracks are really thin, like the width of tiny particles, but they can stretch across vast distances, even as long as entire galaxies. Because they're so massive, they bend space and time around them. Imagine if you were near one, it would feel like going in circles around it, but you'd end up back where you started in less than a full circle. This creates a kind of shortcut through space-time, where time seems to skip forward. According to this theory, if a cosmic string moves really fast, time around it would slow down compared to everything else. So, if you could use these cosmic strings cleverly, you might be able to jump through space and time, almost like time travel. Quantum teleportation. Dr. Lijun Wang, a scientist at the NEC Research Institute, conducted an experiment involving a special kind of laser called a cesium laser. He sent a beam of light through a chamber filled with cesium gas that had been treated in a particular way. What he observed was that the light pulse seemed to appear in two different places at the same time. As it entered the chamber, it also appeared instantly at a spot 60 feet away. This suggests that the light was traveling much faster than we previously thought possible, even faster than the speed of light. This discovery supports Einstein's theory that time behaves differently when objects travel at very high speeds, potentially opening the door to the concept of time travel in the future. Laser theory suggests using a special type of laser called a ring laser to make loops in time, allowing someone to potentially travel through time like we move through space. Instead of needing impossibly long cylinders like previous ideas, this theory proposes using a ring laser to warp space and time. By doing so, it could create closed time-like curves, CTCs, which are paths through time that loop back on themselves. In simpler terms, it's like creating a time tunnel that you could walk through to go to different times. This theory suggests that with the right setup of light and energy, it might be possible for humans to physically travel through time. Dirac's antiparticle theory is a concept from the late 1920s by scientist Paul Dirac. It explains the existence of antimatter, which is like regular matter but with opposite properties. Imagine you have a special equation describing particles, like electrons, that move super fast. This equation, called the Dirac equation, includes ideas from Einstein's theory of relativity to give accurate results. Dirac realized that this equation also predicts the existence of antiparticles. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine flipping time like you would flip a switch. If you do that mathematically, some properties of particles change. For example, the direction of their spin flips. That's why electrons spin one way, while their antimatter counterparts, called positrons, spin the opposite way. This also explains why electrons have a negative charge, but positrons have a positive charge. According to this theory, antimatter moves backward in time, which sounds strange, but it actually makes sense when we consider the symmetries in physics. It's like having a balanced equation. If time only moved forward, it would break this balance. The fixed timeline theory. When you time travel, you can only go to your own future. Imagine time as a train track. Everything that happens has always happened and will always happen. The train can't go backward or off the track. If you're on the train, you can only go forward. So if you travel back in time, your actions have already happened before you even do them again. This theory also states that there might be other universes where everything that's ever happened or will happen has already happened somewhere else.